There have been a lot of changes in the business of hedge funds over the last several years. We're going to talk about the institutionalization of hedge funds. My guest to talk about that is Gurvinder Singh, who's the CEO of Indus Valley Partners. Gurvinder, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. It's always good to see you. So, first of all, I wondered if you could maybe set the stage for us and just tell us, like, when we think about the institutionalization of hedge funds, what are we actually talking about?
Yeah. So, when we talk about institutionalization in the hedge fund space, it's not just, typically most people are thinking, okay, I just need to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
That's just one aspect of it. I think the biggest thing, what that means is consistency, right? Consistency in the investment process, consistency in your operations, consistency in every function. So you're basically removing, any kind of risk other than just investment risk.
Right.
So that's what it really means.
Okay.
And then clearly, I think over the last couple of years, multiple factors are forcing the industry down that path. I mean, I don't even think the industry has a option. And we sit in a pretty unique vantage point with a fifth of the industry as our clients.
Okay.
We see it. We are the guys who are actually doing the plumbing.
Right. So what are those factors that are driving it?
So again, I think a number of different things. The investors started before the regulators.
Okay.
Right? The industry's investor mix changed over the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years, when a lot of the pension money came in looking for outperformance.
Right.
And that brought a certain level of scrutiny, not just on the investment process, not just on the risk management process, but also on compliance, on operations, upon how you're custodying the assets.
Right.
How are you managing yourself against any macro shocks and things like that.
Sure.
So that translated into more procedures, more integrated systems, less manual work, more systematic approaches to solving each of those areas.
Right.
And so I think that's been the biggest driver.
Okay.
We all know about the regulators.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they've been like announcing it for a while, and it's finally happening.
It's happening, yeah.
I mean, it's happening. SEC has laid out its guidelines. FSA has laid out its guidelines.
Right.
EU is doing its own thing. So it's all coming.
Yeah.
So the funds, it's becoming very clear that you can no longer be like a subscale 30 million, 50 million hedge fund and really hope to survive for 10, 20 years.
Right. So when given these pressures to have better processes in place and making sure everything is lined up properly and all your sort of ducks are in a row. I mean, what does this really mean for a hedge fund other than just it's more than simply spending money on technology, right? I mean, there are certain pieces that go to sort of institutionalizing a hedge fund, if you will. Can you tell us about that, Gurvinder?
Sure. It's a good question, right? Everyone thinks like, okay, it just means you just want me to spend more money.
Right. Exactly.
And having worked with this industry over the last 11 years, there's a big difference between what a hedge fund can do and achieve with probably a fraction of the budget than what they could even 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I think the funds really need to think about the ecosystem of their providers, right? So typically before, in the past, the normal operating principle once you crossed 2 billion, 3 billion in AUM was, hey, I need to bring everything in-house. I got to have tons of people in operations, compliance, IT, and so on. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think there are a few segments in the industry where we've actually had we're working with some leading edge thinkers who are actually I think turning the model upside down. They're really leveraging their service providers. But building very lightweight infrastructures in-house to have basically ability to do shadow control mechanisms, so they're not completely dependent. So you can really mix and match between your fund admin, your prime broker, service providers like us. You can really put together a very compelling platform which is integrated and which probably costs maybe less than 30% of what it would have cost 5 years ago.
Right, right. So those small startup funds then can actually have that institutional sort of foundation and framework, without having to get to that AUM level where, okay, like you say, now we've got to bring everything in-house, which is, they probably need that nowadays, given what we talked about earlier with the investors and regulators, if they want to continue to grow, which is obviously the goal of everyone. So, finally, I'm just wondering, given all these changes and how the business is sort of evolving and growing, Gurvinder, is this giving you some, a good sense of, the future for hedge funds? I mean, we've obviously seen a lot of, new funds starting out this year. We've got this issue of banks, spinning out their prop traders, and so there's still a lot going on. But I mean, what's your sort of outlook on the business?
I think I'm definitely bullish. I'm actually even bullish not just on hedge fund. I'm actually bullish overall.
Okay, good.
As well. But within this industry, because we touch it so
right.
Intimately,
yeah.
I think the funds have made up their high water marks last year,
right.
which was a big thing. Which means like they've made up all the losses for their investors.
Yep.
And the investors are also happy, that they don't have to write them off.
Right.
And the the inflows are there.
Right.
We see
Absolutely.
it. We're wiring. I mean, now the thing is, the inflows are coming with more strings attached.
Yeah.
People want managed accounts. People want multiple custodians. So now, if you were still operating in the old mode of like, hey, I'm going to build everything custom in-house, one integrated platform front to back, you would really struggle. I mean, I'm not even sure if it's possible.
Yeah. Because
the pressures are so dynamic now.
Right. Right.
So I think, but I'm definitely very bullish. I mean,
Good.
it's there, and I think the industry is ready for it.
Right.
I mean, I feel the hedge fund industry restructured itself a year before rest of the Wall Street did.
Right. Good.
It went through some real rough times.
Right, exactly.
2 years back.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Excellent. Well, I think we'll close it off there.
Okay.
I've been speaking with Gurvinder Singh, CEO of Indus Valley Partners, talking about the institutionalization of hedge funds and how that business has really embraced technology and kind of the pressure from investors and regulators to become more transparent and get really solid systems in place around custody and operations and all those things. So I appreciate you watching.